Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Convention of States, COS Indiana Live. My name is Dale Parrish. I'm the state director for Convention of States here in Indiana. Sorry, we kind of got off to a little rough start there this evening, but I hope it came out okay. But anyway, I once again want to welcome you to the broadcast this evening. Got a great broadcast lined up for you, and let me bring up my co-host, Mr. Ken Kashuba. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Dale. How are you?
Just fine.
Looking good as usual.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Wow, man, where did that come from? That's
I figured I'd start you off on a different note this week.
You're trying to get off on a better note this time, aren't you? Yes, I know what you're doing. Yes. But anyway, Ken will be monitoring our viewer comments and questions. So we encourage you as a viewer to feel free to make a comment or ask a question about anything going on in our broadcast this evening. So feel free to do that, and Ken will interrupt the proceedings to let us know that we got an interesting comment or question. All right. Ken, this is broadcast number 162. Ken.
Moving right along.
You claim to have been involved in 30 of them now.
Well, that's easy enough to research, but yeah, that's my claim. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Okay. It just doesn't seem possible to me, but if you say so, we'll go along with it for right now. Good deal. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that our national website, conventionofstates.com, we encourage you. Of course, we're trying to get to individuals in Indiana, or anywhere for that matter, but specifically in Indiana, that are not part of the Convention of States family as yet. And we want you to join Convention of States. So the first step in doing that is to go to our national website, conventionofstates.com, and sign up, become a supporter, hopefully take even a further step and become a volunteer leadership in a leadership position. But anyway, that's the national website. Also want to remind you that our next roundtable is coming up next Monday evening, as a matter of fact. It's almost here, Ken, right? It's
hard to believe how quick this month is going.
Yeah. Every fourth Monday of the month, we devote the broadcast or the live stream that we're doing tonight. Every fourth Monday, we devote that to a roundtable format. And that's where we have the executive group for Convention of States here in Indiana, the executive group, as well as a guest participant. We engage in a panel discussion about a particular topic related to our mission as Convention of States. And many of these topics seem to fall into the category of government overreach, Ken. That seems to be an all-encompassing category. And of course, that's reining in the government, and government overreach is one of the pillars of the Convention of States resolution, which has been passed in Indiana. But yeah, we're going to talk about reining in government overreach next Monday, specifically about weaponizing federal agencies. And what an appropriate topic. And I mean, go ahead.
They know we can't. They can't give us enough new topics each week. So I mean, I think we're going to have to get one of those wheels, Dale, and spin the dial and let it fall on whatever hot topic it falls on. Because
that's right, and the wheel gets bigger,
bigger and bigger. Yeah.
And folks, I'll tell you, when we selected this topic, weaponizing, I believe Ken, I believe we selected this topic prior to the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. So, so
kind of
that has fallen right into our topic. So anyway, it should be very interesting. Should be very interesting, to say the least. So we'll be talking about that next Monday evening on the roundtable. Just to remind everyone, our theme all along this year has been on our broadcast has been, what activism can I take in Convention of States? And we've been trying to identify the various forms of activism that one can take as a member of Convention of States, be it a leadership role, be it attending rallies, be it on our telepatriot team, social media warrior. Kid, I mean, there's a very, very long list of different activities that one could engage in. Am I correct in that?
plenty of spots available. Plenty of spots. Just all you have to do is zero in on your talent, and we'll find a place for you.
Yep. And that's Ken put it very, very well. Zero in on your talent or your passion, whatever that may be, and in the form of activism. So, because that's the vision statement for Convention of States, not only nationally but here in Indiana, is to build an army of self-governing activists. So that's what we're all about. That's what we're all about. Well, tonight we have one of our regulars on. This young lady has been on many times, Debbie Stewart, and Debbie is going to be bringing us another chapter in constitutional literacy. Ken, I think Debbie has been on COS Indiana Live more times than you have. Did you know that?
Well, I think you should start putting her number up, Dale. I mean,
Oh no, you mean I have to? Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
I know your calculator and your math aren't always something you want to zero in on,
but she has become a regular and quite popular, I might say.
A knowledgeable young lady.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. If you don't believe me, just ask her. She'll tell you how knowledgeable she is. Okay. So anyway, we'll be bringing Debbie on very, very shortly here. She's going to be talking about international law tonight. So I think it's a very, very good topic. Now, if we have time, we do have a contributor segment, John's Journal by John Ackerman, entitled "Moving On." So, time permitting, we'll go to that and play his contributor segment. So, and I think then once we're finished with Debbie and her segment, then the next segment will be our polling. Raise your voice. So you want to talk about that a bit, Kim?
Sure. The polling option with Slido is going to be something we have gotten used to here, and it's been very popular. So we're going to bring on another one. And tonight we'll show you the QR code now, and get your smartphone out so you can be ready to join in on that. That should be showing up right about now.
Got it.
At slido.com, and number 3927780 is the number you need if you're not using your smartphone. But using this little QR code, which is Dale is still becoming familiar with, and I think at this point accepting more and more, is the easiest way to do it. Just point your smartphone at it and you're logged in and ready to go. So that is the code. It'll be there when we start the presentation. So if you still are looking for that phone, and you don't need to have somebody ping it for you to find out where it is. I know that's happened a lot, but just grab the code when we start the actual polling in that segment. So coming up later.
Ken, where I'm seeing this QR code more and more frequently. My mother-in-law lives with us, and she loves when she gets out. She's elderly, but when she gets out, she loves to buy scratch-offs,
Oh, yep.
and she brings them home, and we scratch off the little QR code at the bottom of the ticket, and I pull out my phone, and we can determine whether she is a winner or not.
Whether she's a winner or not. Isn't that great?
It is. It's quite amazing, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And even with her, she'll buy a lottery ticket from time to time, and I can even scan the. It's not a QR code, but it's a code at the bottom. What's that code called? Do you know?
I'm not sure on that one.
It's a barcode.
Barcode, just a barcode. Yeah.
A barcode.
Yeah. Codes, barcodes, and QR codes. They've been around for a long time. They're just becoming more popular again, I think.
Yeah.
And they're using them in a lot more new technological ways. So that's great.
Well, we won't go into that any further. But yes, I am beginning to see more and more QR codes in our society. Anyway, we digress a bit there. So, so we'll be coming back to Ken and our polling after we hear what Debbie's got to say tonight. So once again, we're talking about convention of states and activism, and that's what we're trying to stress here, and that's what we're trying to do. So, are you ready, Ken? Let's bring Debbie on, okay?
Bring her on, Dale. Bring her on.
All right, there she is.
Hey.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Dale. Hi, Ken. How are you?
Good.
Doing
I
good,
guess
thanks.
You heard all the nice things that Ken said about you, right?
Well, I don't remember anything except for you both used the word young lady, and that was all I needed to hear.
That's all you needed to hear. I can understand that. I can understand.
Absolutely. No, I
Very,
appreciate
very
it.
good.
Yeah.
So, Miss Debbie Stewart, and Debbie, you've been on with us many times, offering up segments on constitutional literacy and civics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm putting you on the spot here. How many more constitutional literacy segments do we have left? Do you know?
I want to say 2 or 3, not too many.
I was going to say we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah.
But a whole bunch of civics lessons available, right?
Unlimited civics lessons.
And of course, there's nothing going on in the country, so there's nothing new in civics happening. So
We live in such a boring country. No political news or anything going on. No big deals. Yeah.
You won't have a thing to talk about here.
No, it's tough to find a topic. I'm telling you.
All right. Well, Debbie, you want to talk about international law, a constitutional literacy segment on international law. So take it away, Debbie.
Okay. Well, this feeds in perfectly with limiting the power of the federal government, because the whole point of this international law topic that I'm going to cover today, and obviously I'm just summing it up because it's much longer of information, but just the highlights is that if we begin to sign on and become party to some of these human rights international treaties, what those do is they can change the domestic laws we have here in our country, because a treaty will supersede the Constitution and our national laws. And so it's a big deal, because if we end up having to side in with some of these treaties, or if we have a Congress that decides to ratify, then we are then under international law, and they make the laws and we don't.
Now, is it in the Constitution that if we sign a treaty that supersedes our Constitution?
It is. It's Article 6, and it's Clause 2, I believe. It's the Supremacy Clause, and it basically says that all the Constitution, the laws, and also treaties are the supreme law of the land.
I see. Okay.
And so what happens then is if we sign a treaty and it's contradictory, let's say some of our state laws, then our state laws will then have to bow to the law in the international treaty, and it can be held up in the international courts of justice, or international justice courts, whatever you want to call them. They're called tribunals. And because of that, now I'll get into that in a little bit, a lot of other countries, they can kind of, the international courts don't really have a way enforcing the international laws. And a lot of countries can kind of back out of that a little bit, but because of our supremacy clause, we cannot. So that's not what our founding fathers had in mind for us when they said treaties, because we know that treaties are agreements between nations, right? So let's, for example, we have migratory birds between Canada and the US. So we have a treaty there, a migratory bird treaty, that talks about how is Canada and the United States going to deal with these birds, and the fact that we share them, and things like that. And that's a good thing. But when we start to sign and or become party, and I'll talk about what that is in a minute, to treaties, then that are designed to change our domestic laws, that's where we have to draw the line. So our founding fathers, I don't think ever imagined that we would even sign on to something like that was contradictory to our Constitution. But because we have so many people in office now, in these high-ranking offices in our government, that are tending to lean very left and very globally now, they're beginning to adopt and have been adopting. Even our Supreme Court and our federal courts have been using some of the things from these international treaties in our courts here, in our cases here, which is really sad because it's not even law that we've become party to. So in essence, they're giving our federal government tons of power. Go ahead.
There could be some things in a treaty that politically the administration in charge that couldn't get that passed constitutionally or legislatively in the country, in our country, could get it imposed through a treaty, through an international treaty of some kind.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Did I say that?
Absolutely. And I think that's the hope of some of them as well. We'll get this treaty. The safeguard we have, and it's a soft safeguard, is that when there's a treaty that comes up, an international treaty, if you're a signatory, that means you signed it. That means you're kind of on board, you see it happening, but you have to actually get 2/3 of the Senate to ratify it in order for us to become a party to the treaty where we're held accountable to it.
Okay.
The only issue with that is that some of the treaties, I just lost my train of thought on that now. Okay, wait, tell me your question again.
You said the Senate had to ratify
right.
treaties, and you said there was the only problem with that was
yeah. So even if the Senate, let's just say that we have a treaty that we've signed on to it, and I'll give you an example one, but we haven't become party to it. That means we haven't gotten ratification of the Senate, which is a good thing. That means that the majority of our people are saying no. But there's something called customary international law. And the way that works is that if most of the countries have signed on and they have become party, we could almost be forced to be party to it too, even though we haven't ratified it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a kind of a scary thing. And that's the customary international law.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so.
Okay, you wanted to start off with objectives, I think. Have we gone past that?
It's kind of, so we want to know why this whole treaty area can be very threatening to our self-government. Okay, and the other thing is we want to understand what is the significance of the supremacy clause, and we already kind of talked about that. Before I get into that, though, just so you know, like I said, a signatory is a nation that's signed a treaty, but they become a party when they ratify it in their legislature. Okay, so there's two kind of levels there. I already mentioned a tribunal is an international court of justice. And again, the supremacy clause is in operation, and it does come from our Constitution. So if we go back to the War for Independence, what were we fighting for? Well, we were fighting for the fact that we the American people wanted to make the laws for America. We didn't want Britain to make them, or the king or parliament or whoever. That's what we fought for, that independence, right? So Americans, the quote, the way we think of it is Americans should make the laws for America, okay? But, taxation without representation, the same issue there. But now there are key government leaders that believe that we should adopt these United Nations treaties that aim to exert international control over our domestic policies, which is a huge threat to our self-government. Because now, like I said, if we go ahead and sign on to a treaty, or even or ratify it, we could be forced to implement the treaty. That takes away what our Constitution can say and some of our laws. Now, if our laws line up with it, that's easy. And like some of these treaties, we actually helped write part of them, but not all of it. And so some of these much more liberal ideas are coming in here, and then they want to pass the whole treaty, of course. So a few of these human rights treaties, I'm going to just give you 3 of them real quick, and then we'll talk about 1 or 2 of them. The first one is the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is the UNCRC. We'll talk about that in a bit. The second one is the Convention. I have to read this one because it's long. It's the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or the CEDAW Treaty. CEDAW is the acronym. And then the third one is the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which is the ICE-CSR Treaty. Okay, so these are the 3 that Michael Ferris brings up in his book. But I want to just right now focus on the CEDAW. Okay, so it sounds good. It's about having equality for women versus men. Okay, that sounds really good on the outside. But one of the things that I've learned, and many of us have had, that when there's a bill in Congress and they name it this, usually what's in the bill is actually opposite of what the title is.
Right.
Because we're so deceptive anymore. We can't even just be honest in our government. So some of the provisions of this treaty are: establish a new international economic order based on equity and justice. Okay, this doesn't sound too bad for women, right? Another one is to change the traditional role of men and women in society and the family. Not sure about that one, right? Because we see a lot of roles changing right now, both gender-wise, family-wise, that aren't very healthy at all and very detrimental. But listen to this one other provision of this treaty: international peace and security with a bunch of other stuff, which includes general and complete disarmament, both nuclear and arms disarmament. And I'm like, wait, what in the world does that have to do with equality for women?
Mm-hmm.
They must think we're stupid working all this stuff into these treaties. And hopefully our congressmen are not going to go along with this. But so anyways, these treaties can be deceptive. We really need to know what it is we're looking at. How would it violate our self-government? Well, it would override our domestic laws, right? And our state constitutions. And now this governing board of the United Nations who makes this treaty or this law, they're not accountable to us like our representatives are, right? It's just like the bureaucracy under the president. A lot of those, the CDC, the FBI, they're not accountable to the people. They don't get voted in. They get appointed, selected, or whatever. So our whole thing about Americans making laws for America just went out the window with this international treaty. Yeah. Okay? All right. So how are treaties enforced? Well, here's the thing. In international tribunals and courts, the international law is always supreme. Okay, so again, we said that trumps whatever, not to use that word, but it supersedes the laws that you have in your country. But the International Court of Justice doesn't have a lot of ability to enforce these laws and these treaties. Okay, but for most nations, that's not a problem. I talked about this earlier because they are not automatically enforceable in their domestic courts unless they were to say, have a law that says we're following this treaty. So a lot of the nations in our world can kind of back out of that, even though they've signed on to it and stuff. But we're different because of our supremacy clause. So because of that, that treaty becomes the supreme law of the land. And then we have to acquiesce to it. And it supersedes our state laws, our local laws, things like that. So I think that's really scary to think about that. That all the time that went into our state constitutions and things like that would just be kind of set aside for these other laws that came from an international governing body that really doesn't even know what we do in our country, right?
Right, right.
So we're putting this decision in the hands of our U.S. Congress. Our like I said, it's the Senate. 2/3 of the Senate has to ratify. And I don't think that would happen now because we're usually 50-50. But some of these treaties are kind of scary, and I'll tell you that. But virtually all the laws in the United States that deal with parents and children are all state laws. So a treaty would come in and push a lot of those aside.
Very interesting. Very interesting. That's scary, Ken. I'll tell you that.
You know, Debbie's bringing in the scare tonight. You know, I'm hearing all this, and it's kind of like, wow. You know, I mean, for me, you know, I think we've got a number of new roundtable issues coming up. First, I think we could spend a whole hour talking about the UN.
We could.
And then I think, you know, one of my big pet peeves, and I know it's not on this round of Convention of States, but I'm sure thinking maybe by the next round, one of my biggest pet peeves is all this pork-filled bills that are get loaded down with stuff that have nothing to do with the original intent. I think we really need to get back to one topic, one issue per bill. Sign it, or, you know, get off the pot. It's
not
one of those things.
Debate, right?
No debate, and it doesn't fill pockets of these people, you know, that have their own interests, and it really it puts things back to the bill should be directed towards, is it going to help the American people?
Right. And all those things that they stuff in there that they plan on you not seeing, if those were brought forward as their own bill, they'd never pass.
Exactly.
They wouldn't. Nobody would go for it, and they know that.
And it gets stuffed into these 7,000 and 5,000 word pages of a bill that they know none of these people are able to read it. So I mean, it goes back to the old Pelosi statement. Well, we got to pass it to know what's in it. That, to me, that was the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard from a leader in our country.
And you know, when people are doing that, it's got deception written all over it, because why do you have to do that? And if you're being honest with the American people, why would you need to hide something in a bill?
Yeah. So very scary, this international law stuff. I don't know.
I mean, I suspect these treaties that have, not suspect, I know they got similar things buried in those, and we as the American public probably have less of an opportunity to find out what's really in the treaty than even a piece of legislation that gets passed here in the United States that has stuff buried in it that we don't even know about. So you can imagine what could be buried in some of these treaties.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how long these treaties are, to be honest with you.
That's another thing. What?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look up what is the length of the treaties like in the last 10 years. So, and remember, treaties are really supposed to govern the relations between two nations, not within a nation.
Right.
And so, and these UN treaties set international legal standards that touch all aspects of our domestic law and what we do here in our country. So let's just real quick, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. This one is really amazing. So basically, this treaty exercises control over children and parents with education, health, even discipline and religion. Wow. It seeks not only to tell us what the government needs to be doing, but it also tells the parent what they need to be doing.
Yeah, that's just amazing. That's just amazing.
So
it's the world order. It's this world order thing.
It is. It is. And it reminds me of Hitler, the Hitler Youth. You know, it was the popular group back then. And it was even where parents were ousted and the kids were taken, even when their parents didn't want them. They would convince the kids that was the popular thing to do. And they would basically move out of the home and be in this Hitler Youth group. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying that whole world order thing where we're going to tell you what to do. But listen to some of these things on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Okay, first of all, this treaty would automatically override almost all of our American laws regarding children, which we already talked about that. Congress would now have the power to directly legislate to comply under international law And they would that would be like the biggest federal overreach we've probably ever had, is them actually telling parents what they need to do and legislating that. Children have the ability to choose their own religion. Under this treaty, parents can only advise their children on the religion, but they can't tell them what to do. The best interest of the child principle is that the government can override parent decisions if the social worker assigned to them decides a parent made a bad decision.
Wow.
And by the way, right now, Scotland back in 2014 decided that they were going to, every child at birth is assigned a state worker that goes with them all the way up through the time they're 18.
Is that right, really?
Yep.
Jeez.
And
Wow.
then here's another one. Children have a legally enforceable right to leisure and no more reasonable spankings either.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable spankings.
Exactly. Like, I mean, you spank your child in a loving way to let them know versus abuse. I think that's what they're trying to say in here, but you can't spank your child at all anymore. So these are just some of the things. Now, here's a question I have for you. How many, okay, there's what, 194, 195 nations, 196, it's somewhere in there. I can't remember. How many do you think have not signed and become party to this UN Convention on the Rights of the Child? Give me a guess.
Wow. Have
How
not
many
signed.
have not signed?
How many have not signed this?
Out of 190, roughly 195, 196. Not signed.
How
I'm
many?
I'm going to say 5.
Okay, you're close. Dale?
He's close.
Well, a lot of them have signed it, but who hasn't? Yeah, how many of them? I should say, how many of them have not become party to it? So
I'm going to say 50.
okay. Well, only one.
Oh, you're
Only one nation in the entire world has not become party to this, and it's our country.
Wow.
So you want to talk about pressure? We talked about that customary international law. So what's happening is, and I don't know where we are with the, I know I feel bad, Dale. I've just been moving forward. That's under, we just talked about international law. So I know I don't know if you got to put your little banner up there or not, but.
yeah, I lost track here. Are you?
I know. Well, it's just great discussion though. I love it.
Yeah, are you
That's because he
still-
was working on a math question again, Debbie.
Exactly. Didn't mean to throw you there, Dale.
That's okay.
But if we ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, judges in every state would be required to treat this treaty as the supreme law of the land, right? And any inconsistent state law or constitution. So again, it would supersede. Even though the United States has not ratified this treaty, some of our US federal courts and even our Supreme Court has used this treaty in court cases to sway where the court case goes. And they use the treaty as the law. And we haven't even become party to it. So what is wrong with that, right? When our judges are using this, because every other nation is, but we are still a sovereign nation. We are not accountable to this treaty, but they are judging at cases in the court using this treaty. So
Wow.
talking about way out of their jurisdiction and federal overreach.
Right.
Yeah. So
Wow.
comments or questions?
Well, I will bring in, we had one of our viewers early on bring this up about the New World Order, the agenda there, 2030. So that was on the mind of one of our viewers early on that we kind of talked a little bit about this. But then I think the one that after listening to all this one kind of strikes me as being there. And this one just on the comedic side is happy opening day of squirrel season. This is quite a nutty.
Yeah.
What the previous comment about 2030, is that the New World Order's Agenda 2030? Is that something you could talk about sometime, Debbie?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's a huge document. I mean, they talk about nobody's going to own property. We're all going to be happy, talking about, emissions in cars and no gas cars. And there's all these things, but absolutely. I mean, I think people want to know this stuff because that's 8 years away, and they're pushing this agenda really hard.
I think that would be interesting for you could that be a civics topic?
Absolutely.
Put that on your list. And
I think we'll have to brush up on the Russian Constitution too, because I saw this I was talking earlier, about Mark Levin last night, and he went through and brought up many parts of the Russian Constitution, which of course never got instituted, but it was there. Yeah, I mean, and Mark even said, "What a wonderful sounding Constitution," but it's right out of Marxism, and they never used it. It was all about the people and all this fluff sounding good stuff, and wow. never instituted really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it fits right in with what you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of constitutions don't even last a year. Where ours, I told you, I think the average age is 17 years for a constitution. So we're way past that. And I think that's kind of why we're teetering right now. We have some choices to make.
Very true.
Yeah. So really, I would say, how do we push back against this? Kind of like the final conclusion here. And I'd love to hear what you all have to say. But it's really important that the people that we are electing understand the treaties. They understand the consequences of a treaty, and they're willing to take a stand that we don't adopt a treaty. We don't become party to a treaty that's going to change our domestic laws.
Well, we really have our homework cut out for us, because at this point, they don't seem to want to stand for anything at this point, in my opinion. It's hard to get them to stand for anything. They just kind of I don't know, bend and flop with the wind and go with the flow.
Yeah.
So,
well, Ken, Debbie's scared me tonight. I don't know about you.
Well, and we have a viewer, Clorinda Crabtree, says that this is extremely disturbing, and it is. I mean, it's a point where I think, and we've got more disturbing discussions to talk about, unfortunately, Clorinda. But
well, I don't want you to rename my segment the Fear Factor. So next time we'll tone it down a little bit.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But I think at this point, we have to go back to the fact that November is just around the corner, and we do need to get this convention of states filled and get our convention going, because as I think I mentioned earlier, this is number one. The way things are going, we're going to need a second one just to handle some of this stuff.
Sure.
Well, it was never intended that to just have one convention of states. I mean, I've been under that assumption ever since I've been involved here, that this could possibly actually be like an annual event. But certainly not just one, but obviously getting to the first one is
right.
the objective right now. But
absolutely.
Anyway. Well, Debbie, thank you very much.
You're welcome
for coming on tonight. Did you tell me we weren't able to line you up for September, right? You had a lot of things going on in September.
No, I'm okay near like the second half of September.
Second half, okay.
Yeah, well, we just couldn't decide on a topic, because you had asked me to maybe talk about, if I want to talk, I think it was the FBI or something like that, and as a part of a civics, and I said I could do that too. So, but yeah, second half of September, I'm good if you need me.
We'll talk to you about getting you lined up. But
and Debbie, just to calm your nerves, we won't be changing the headline of your show or your appearance here. We did Cherie de Westar, and I know I've already butchered it. We'll just stick with Cherie. Says that.
Yes,
thanks,
Cherie,
Debbie. We need to know these things, scary or not, and she appreciates all the work that you do. So.
Yeah, because sometimes if we're going to head off what's coming, we need to know the truth in order to take action. Truth can be scary.
That's very true. Yeah.
All right.
Cherie.
Thank you, Debbie.
You bet.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Okay. Always interesting. Debbie's always interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, let's go ahead and do a John's Journal contribution here. Contributor
Sounds good.
Called Moving On. Okay. let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back. Got a big announcement that we want to do before we get into Raise Your Voice, okay?
Sounds good.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana. I want to take this moment to speak peace into your heart, into your mind, into your very being. Peace in the face of all the nastiness that's on social media. In fact, I'm starting to view it as anti-social media, because there's so much hate and vitriol and divisiveness out there on social media. Many people don't know this, but you can read something that you disagree with on your social media and just move on with your life. You don't have to respond to everything. It's not written down anywhere that you have to get your blood pressure up, that you have to click the angry emoji, that you have to argue and fight and disagree. Sometimes, many times, in my experience, most times, I just move on.
Well, I think after Debbie's segment, I think
I'm ready to move on, Dale.
it's appropriate. That was appropriate. Was time to just move on.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, let's before you get going into the polling, let's make the announcement that our leader Mark Meckler announced yesterday evening, and you chime in here if I'm not saying it correctly, but basically Mark and Convention of States is now we're calling for the FBI to be dismantled, and we're calling for the end of the FBI. We're not calling for ending the things that the FBI does. Those we think can be sorted out to other agencies or returned to the states, but we're calling for the end of the FBI. And we've created Convention of States has created a website, inthefbi.com, and if you go there, and you can hear a little dissertation by Mark Meckler about what this is all about. And then you have the opportunity, if you enter your name and address and so forth, this is called voter voice. You have the ability then to initiate a message or an email to your state legislators as well as your federal legislators. Have you done this, Ken? Have you been on to this?
I've seen the site, and I'm ready to submit my voice to my congressman, which is the neat thing about that form,
Yes.
which does that. But even one step further, Dale, because we've talked about this in other sessions where these forms are good, and it's good to submit them, but it doesn't end there. I think you have to get on the phone and call them too. They have to. I know some legislators, react differently to email and what have you. But the phone call, even if it's leaving that message with the aide that answers the phone, they have to take that down. They have to report that, and that's something that does. I mean, I'm just trying to expand on this. The fact that I think it's great what we're looking at here. I think the majority of American people see what this is, and we have to recognize that this is a group that's gone awry. It's fully on tilt, and it's not. This is not America to have this type of involvement in outside of what their duties are. So yeah.
and I don't think this movement's going to end with the FBI. I think there are other agencies that will fall in line with this too. And folks, there will be plenty more coming out about this movement in the FBI. And we'll of course bring it to you as this unfolds. But this announcement was just made yesterday evening, so this is brand new, and we wanted to include it in our broadcast this evening. So we encourage you to go to inthefbi.com. All right, Ken, you want to get Marengo Mike ready and kick off Raise the Voice.
I think he's ready to go.
All right.
That features you. Scan the code and join the fun. It's your turn to be heard.
Well, there you go. Marengo is announcing another polling edition tonight, and we will go ahead and get that ready so you can get your smartphones out or get on your computer or laptop and get ready to get the code. There it is one more time on the side of our first question. Well, let me see. This is from an anonymous. So this is a question that's come in that we didn't see. So the anonymous is asking, how wild do I need to be considered young? Dale, you want to answer that?
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well, maybe we need to bring Debbie back on to answer that question. How wild do I need to be considered young? I don't know. I guess maybe as wild as you can dream. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, I guess that's the answer. Yeah.
So here is the first question, and it kind of falls in line with what we were talking about. Part of the dismantling of that is, should the FBI be defunded? Because obviously this question is related to Congress having the purse, and they basically could be the first step in dismantling and defunding. As I think we talked about, Dale, is not just like what was happening with the police. This is just taking away the purse and basically eliminating the money for the bureau. From there, we talked about what would happen next. Do certain portions of it go under Homeland Security? Do others go under other areas that are there? So there's a lot to this, but it looks to me like everybody kind of much is in agreement here that first we do need to think about defunding them and getting this process started. So I know some of these questions might be on the easy side tonight, but I had to ask them.
Sure.
Now this next one, I'm going to preface it with the fact that this second question really is will kind of fit in. I'll go ahead and bring it on up here. The names Lisa Monaco, Vanita Gupta, Christine Clark, Kenneth Polite, Matthew Graves are all members of A.G. Garland's DOJ. Are you aware of the backgrounds of any of these people? And you didn't elect them, so these are appointed people. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because right now we're getting 100% no on who these people are, and they are basically staff members for A.G. Garland. I would encourage you.
I saw a report on this the other day. I can't remember who presented this on their program, one of the news programs. But yeah. I wasn't aware of this. This is kind of like the management staff of the Department of Justice, right? I mean, these are the
exactly
heads.
Yeah, exactly. They all have their different parts, and what I'm encouraging here is, because it looks to me like 100% of viewers tonight are not familiar with these people, that you look them up, because I think you'll be surprised. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to.
They're all radicals. They're all radicals.
Yeah. I don't want to plant any seeds, but you're going to find out that these people have extreme views. Yeah. And this is another reason why we are hitting the tilt we are, I think, with our DOJ and our justice system. because we haven't elected these people. And it's not just AG Garland. Of course, he's the head man, but these people are in charge of different areas. And
I wonder, Ken, does anyone know, were these people, did these people have to be approved by the Senate?
That's a good question. I don't think they had to be approved by the Senate. I think they were just appointed. Just like a lot of the Biden administration's administration is just appointed. They're just selected people. I think at the higher end, like AG, like the AG and other higher director type positions, those people do kind of have to get the okay from the Senate. But I think a majority of these people are just handpicked. So it's another just an awareness question that I wanted to put up tonight. And
that's a good one though. That's good.
I have one more, which is, again, I have to bring up another ranking question, but at this point, I'd like to know going forward where we are at, because election fraud's been leading the group here, and I just threw in a couple of extras to see if there was any change, but ranking these particular areas, election fraud, obviously our DOJ, CRT, and new mandates. There is talk about the possibility of bringing back mandates and lockdowns and what have you. So it looks like the DOJ is certainly, with the events of this past week or so, has just jumped into the lead, Dale. So
I'll tell you, the way things are going now, this question every week could change. The answer to this question could change every week.
Yeah. Well, and it flopped again here. So election fraud is still way up there, but it does bring in, it's very close. So yeah, appreciate that, because like I said, I think we have a good roundtable coming up, and it kind of fits in with everything that's going on. So we appreciate you, sharing this with us. It helps us as we go forward with roundtable topics.
Yep. Great.
That's it.
Well, I should have mentioned this earlier, but we'll mention it now. If any viewers have any thoughts or questions after the live stream is over this evening, or you want to contact us about anything else, give us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Ken and I look at these every day. I look at this every morning, Ken, to see who's submitted an email to us. So raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. So any questions or comments that you have after the live stream this evening. So, all right, Ken, very, very good. I tell you what, we got a little time here this evening. I know our August newsletter is out now, right?
Just went out today. Yes. It took a little time over the weekend for that to get through national. But it did hit today. I double checked that. And so everybody who's on our email list should have received it. It will be posted by tomorrow on Facebook, on our Facebook page, in our flipbook version. And therefore will also make its rounds on some of our other platforms via the flipbook. Yep.
Well, as a feature in our newsletter, Marengo Mike has a feature in there called Marengo Mike's Corner, and I thought I would treat everyone to the segment of Marengo Mike's Corner that is in the August newsletter. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to see it tonight. All right, Kim?
Good deal.
Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to another Marengo Mike's Corner. Today, we are visiting our local sheriff's office to ask a very important question, especially with elections coming up this November. We wanted to ask our sheriff here whether he's a constitutional sheriff.
Well, thanks for coming by, Marengo.
But before I answer your question, I believe it's important that the people know the definition of a constitutional sheriff. And that is, it's to keep the peace and to secure and protect the people of this jurisdiction from threats to their liberties, their livelihoods, and the peaceable enjoyment of their property. And that nature of the solemn oath requires that the actions of my duties, they must conform to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state. So to answer your question, yes, I am a constitutional sheriff because I believe the American people need to have the trust and confidence in their election systems.
Well, there you go. Another educational moment from Marengo Mike's Corner. And one question you need to be asking of your local sheriff. So, that'll do it for this month. Hope to see you again next time. From Marengo Mike's Corner, bye-bye now.
All right. Another little educational tidbit from Marengo Mike, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. No, that certainly looked like Marengo has a relative that's in law enforcement too. I don't know where that came from, but
He's got a lot of relatives. I tell you, he's got a big family, you know?
kind of looked familiar. Yeah,
Yeah, he did. They favored each other.
traits. They have those family traits, I think.
Well, Ken, let's wrap it up for the evening. I always like to close everything out on one of our favorite acronyms now, GOTC. That's get off the couch. And I'm telling you, Ken, with what's going on in our country, it's I don't know how you can sit on that couch any much longer.
Not any longer. No, it's either you're for the way that we got here, or you're for the way that they want to bring us. And I think from the peak we've had here in just a short year or so, I don't think people are too happy with the way things are running. So.
I believe it more and more every day that the only way these things, and I know I'm overgeneralizing here, but the only way these things are going to change is we the people. It's going to take us. It's going to take we the people to make this change, to make these changes.
Yep.
I'm afraid
strength in numbers, Dale. And I think at this point, once the more we go forward with this, the more people realize that really is the strength we have. It's the millions of people, Americans, just everyday Americans that are just want to live a peaceable life and want to do their job every day and take care of their families. And that's their interest. And the less government involvement in that, the better. And I think at this point, people are finally realizing it. We're in a fight. This is a war. And, I've heard it so many times. Our biggest enemy is not those that are, terrorists in other countries. Our biggest enemy right now is in our own land.
Within. The enemy's within. Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, we are just bubbling with positives tonight. But we are. And folks, the answer is Convention of States. It's using the Constitution to save the Constitution and to save this country, folks. Ken is right. There is a war going on, and the war is to save this country. So if you're still on that couch, folks, it's time to get off the couch and get involved. And
join the biggest grassroots army. Yep.
We offer to you Convention of States as the way to get involved. So with that, I'm going to say good night. Just a quick reminder that once again, that next Monday evening will be our roundtable format, and we're going to be talking about weaponizing federal agencies. So ought to be very, very appropriate topic, and ought to be very, very interesting. So thank you. Thanks, Ken, and thanks to everyone that viewed tonight and that submitted comments or questions to us. We appreciate your support. So that'll be it for tonight. Have a good
Thanks,
evening,
Dale.
Tim. Thank you very
You
much.
too. Good night, everybody.